Hey folks, welcome back to Canada's Boxing Channel, part two, with Jamie. In part one, Jamie, we went sort of all around the houses, as they say, but
We certainly did.
we ended up with Moses ITAUMA, who um, I'm not sure if you and I share the same view on Moses. Um, but what did you think of his performance last night against Mike Bologna, who I think we can agree is very brave? I would have definitely not gotten up from that. I would have taken my paycheck and gone home.
Yeah, it was heavy, wasn't it? Just I'm absolutely enamored with Moses Salma, and the thing about boxing is we don't ever seem to learn. I don't think, particularly in Britain. Um, Someone comes along who looks a bit special, and we're constantly sort of waiting, like we're raving about them before they've done anything impressive on paper. Do you know what I mean? And this is another example of that. I just think the sharpness, he's great on his feet. He looks like he can switch hit. Um, he reminds me, and I said this in the chat that we have numerous times last night, I think, and people might think I'm being a bit outlandish. He reminds me of a heavyweight version of Kell Brook, like the smoothness, you know what I mean? Just very, very smooth, and just the way that he executes that left hook. He just and Balogun didn't come to lay down, did he? Come to have a go. Fair
Yeah,
play to
yeah.
him.
Fair play to Bologna.
Um,
Fair play. I
yeah,
mean,
and he
um,
tried to catch him. He tried to catch him a couple of times, but shots were caught on the arms, and yeah, they say the most hurtful shots are the ones you don't see. I don't think he saw those left hands. They were lightning quick. And then he's on his backside. Yeah, he hit his head quite hard on the canvas. Did well to get up for the first one, and then the second one was pretty much identical to the first. Um, and yeah, they've just got to move him on. They've got to move him on against somebody now with a bit more. Um, I don't know what you'd say. Someone with a sturdier, loftier CV
well,
resume, whatever you want to
I
put it.
mean, the Bologna fight was it actually turned out to be better than I thought. I mean, I thought, why
Yeah.
pick Bologna? A sub 500 guy. My hat off to him. He did better than a lot of guys who've been rated much higher have done.
Yep.
So, absolute full marks to Bologna. Moses, you're right. He's got power in both hands. We've seen that now. He can drop people with the right. He can drop people with the left. Um, he's very calm. He doesn't get carried away. He's the way but he goes about his work is very measured, very, very professional.
Yeah, he was patient last night as well. Like he could have.
Very, very indeed.
Yeah.
And he can also be devastating off the back foot. I mean, when Bologna charged into him just before the final knockdown, Moses was moving backwards and dropped him with the right hand. Like it was a very nice maneuver, and he had
Yeah.
well, in fact, he had his hands low. I mean, people with more technical knowledge than me might take issue with a lot of that, but he just seemed to be
Well,
very, very smooth. He seemed to, have everything under his control, and he saw the spots and he thought, bang, going to hit you there, and then you're going to go night night.
you're gonna go to sleep, but I'm gonna be extra sensationalist here, and I think I'm gonna make you laugh. But we do know one other fighter, don't we, Bob, who threw a hook going backwards and knocked someone out.
Oh,
In fact,
we're not going to put
in fact,
we're not going to put Moses in that category.
well, no, no, I know, I'm just being sensationalist, but
Uh,
we know. Well, Mayweather did it as well. Mayweather did it
okay, okay, you can talk about
going backwards.
Mayweather, but do not put Moses and Sugar Ray in the same category, please.
I
I'll have
know
to.
I'm not going to,
I'll,
but I
I'll,
just thought that'd elicit a smile from you there, Bob. To be
I'll
honest.
have to do. I'll have to do
Yeah.
a Kent and complain that my phone battery is running out or something like that.
Yeah. Well, you have to give me a slap when you see me, won't you?
um, but no, Moses very very good. No doubt about it. He shows a lot. But here's the difference between you being enamored with him and me being sort of like a little bit more skeptical.
Yep.
Um, we've not seen him get hit,
No.
um, and we've not seen him in a back and forth, into deep waters. We've not seen him have to bite down on his gum shield. Um, until we see that, I think that we shouldn't get too excited. I heard some interviewers asking him, or asking, could he beat Daniel Dubois? Could he beat Tyson Fury? Could he beat Anthony Joshua? Could he beat? And I think maybe that's just getting a little bit too carried away.
Yeah, it is. It is like the only the sort of riposte to what you're saying there, Bob, is the kid's sharp. The kid's got fast hands. He's very, very good on his feet. And we saw last night, Balogun did not, as I say, didn't come to lay down. Balogun could hit. You could hear the thudding nature of his punches. So he was trying to land on the chin.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, ITAUMA's the defensive nous was making that difficult. Now the answer to I haven't seen him hit. Well, is there anyone around who's fast enough, quick enough to hit him, barring maybe Usyk? That is a very, and it's not like me to
Um,
get.
Dubois,
Normally, Dubois not very quick. Dubois is Mr. Robotic, I think. I think he'd beat Dubois.
AJ.
Like AJ, Prime AJ, yeah, Prime AJ all day long, but not this version of AJ. No, I appreciate. I'm playing a little bit of the devil here. I don't normally jump on a bandwagon, but I'm that impressed with the kid. I think he's mustard,
How about
and
how about Tyson Fury?
he's retired, Bob.
Apparently he is, though it was interesting that he made a social media post about how much he loves retirement. It was like an Alan Wicker travel log kind of thing. He had some sort of scenery, very pretty scenery, of course, saying, "Why would I give this up? I don't want to come back. I'm not coming back,"
But
and
yeah,
all that sort of stuff.
I'm number one in the Ring magazine, so yeah, it's bizarre, isn't it?
Yeah, you know,
Yeah,
just for shits and giggles,
go on.
I went to BoxRec and I just looked up Ali's box rec, and with roughly the same number of fights, what has Moses got now? Like 13 or so.
Yeah, something like that.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. George Logan, Billy Daniels, Don Warner. He'd just beaten Sonny Banks, and he was yet to fight Archie Moore. So those are the names that Ali was fighting when he was. That would have been, in 1962.
Didn't Sonny Banks point him down?
Sonny Banks might have actually. Yeah,
I think first fight to do
Ali
it.
was first round knockdown. Yeah, and then
Yeah,
Banks was down in the second.
I'm quite impressed with myself there.
Yeah, you are very well done.
Yeah.
But the point is, we should sort of bear that in mind, right?
No, and like I say, Bob, it's not like me to be sensationalist,
Yeah.
but I really, really think that the kid's got something. And normally I don't like jumping on the bandwagon. Normally I'm like, after David Price, I think I learned a lesson. But he's just, the thing is, I like him from a media perspective as well. I think he's so cool and calm. And he's just, he's not arrogant. Like I think he is the poster boy for that. You know that argument, like what's arrogance, what's confidence.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think,
There's a fine line between being supremely confident and being,
yeah.
an arrogant, annoying kind of guy.
Whereas I think he's the poster boy for that. I think he's just supremely confident. I think if you was to give an illustration of it, he would be the one you would look at. I like him. Maybe that's why I've jumped on the bandwagon because he's very likable and I want to see him do well.
You know,
So yeah,
sorry to interrupt, but
all right.
the thought that went through my mind, and if I didn't get it out, it would be forever gone. He's also become a very big guy. Like, he was 250 and change last night. Like that's like 18 stone in old money, right?
Yeah, yep.
He's for some reason it was only yesterday. I can't remember what he fought at before. 230s and 240s, but he's certainly not a small man. He's definitely grown in, and he'll probably go another 10 pounds, maybe.
I don't think you stop growing until like you're about 20, 24, 25. I remember
Yeah,
because I mean I'm a bit of a fat boy, but um I remember like one stage in my life, one minute I'm wearing medium tops, and then it seemed like overnight, like my neck, my back, everything just sort of stretched out. I
yeah,
mean, I'm working my upper body all the time being a wheelchair user, so it's a little bit different. But we hear that phrase, don't we? Man strength. Well,
yeah,
he's yet to get his. He's not even. Well, he's 20, isn't he? So
yeah. And he's
um,
he'll be he could well be he could well be a very mobile 270-pound guy.
yeah, and that's what's so exciting. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah. No, I see what you're saying. Yeah, because he's,
Yeah,
some reason I still had him in my mind as being, a leaner kind of guy than he was. When I saw him last night, I thought, yeah, he's really grown into himself.
yep.
Um,
I,
they're talking about. Oh, by the way, before we talk about his future opponents, his manager Francis Warren, that's one of Frank Warren's sons, right?
mhm.
Has he got like some herky jerky kind of movements, or like, or some sort of really bad twitch, or something known that I don't know, or what's?
Yeah, I've seen him on interviews. I don't want to.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Yeah, but
No, you know what I'm gonna say. Well,
yeah,
what I'm
okay,
thinking.
okay.
I'm
I
not gonna
wasn't
say
sure if there was some well-known physical ailment, or whether this is something that's likely caused by
it.
lifestyle behavioral choices. No, we'll,
Very
we'll
diplomatic.
we'll probably leave it there and move on. And Bacoli, it's a good job we've got nobody Bolivian to talk about next.
No.
Bacoli, and Moses seem to be having a little bit of back and forth. Moses said that Bacoli's performance against a Jagba was trash,
He's not,
and
is he?
which she wasn't really wrong. And then Bacoli and Billy Nelson have been talking about a possible bit of glass around the chin of Moses that no one's hit him yet. So, you think there's a
Yeah.
possibility those guys will get a fight?
Yeah, because that's the way it works nowadays, isn't it? Someone mentions someone on the sports pages, or they're ringside, and there's a little bit of aggro ringside, or where was he ringside last night? Bacoli. I mean, he's
Yeah,
Scottish,
he
isn't
was
he?
ringside with Billy Nelson.
Yeah. So there you go. It's perfectly set up. Everything's WWE nowadays, isn't it?
It really is. Yeah,
We have
I
the combatants in the crowd thinking our next move. So yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. That'll be the next fight.
Yeah, I mean, if Bacoli can lean down, if Bacoli comes in at 280, I think Bacoli can make life a little bit difficult for Moses. But the way Moses moved last night, it
Yeah.
it was it's very classy.
Do you know who I'd like to see him in with, Bob? And he's a little bit of a not a busted flush. I think it's disrespectful to say. I'd love to see him fight Jared Anderson, Moses
Yeah,
Itama.
I think
The
that would be
same model of fighter. Do you know what I mean? And I'm not saying Jared Anderson's anywhere near as good as Itama because I don't believe that, but he's quite fast, quite agile. It's a sort of style that we haven't really seen Itama in against. You know, he's been pitted against these guys that are supposed to be big and sturdy. I think Jared Anderson would give us a new look, and I think he'd be able to tag him as well. So that's a fight I'd want to see, but I'm not the matchmaker, am I?
no. Anderson would be fine. Even Vianelli would be fine.
Yeah.
See where see where he stands, right?
Yep.
But
Yeah.
Anderson would be a good fighter. Um, I don't know about Hergovich. Her- Hergovich, I think he should be able to beat Hergovich.
Yeah. I reckon so because he's very, very in the mold of the sort of fighters that they've been putting him in with. You know,
Yeah.
sort of upright. He's going to come and sort of have a go. I think that I think he'd beat the crap out of Joe Joyce as well. Joe
Oh
Joyce
yeah,
is done.
yeah. I think he's done.
Absolutely demolished him. I think he'd beat
Um,
Chisora as well, quite handily, and Dillian White.
Chisora would give him rounds.
Yeah, only because Chisora's doesn't know how to sit down. I just think he'd make his face look like mincemeat,
Jarrell,
wouldn't
Jarrell, Big Baby Miller, and Moses.
he?
Jarrell gives him rounds.
I don't want to see him in the ring with him though.
Yeah, because
He's
he's
drunk.
a drug cheat. Yeah. Um, there's no point talking Fabio Wardley and Moses. They're under the same trainer. Yeah.
Yeah, they're friends, aren't they? They
Well,
said
I don't know
that'd
about
be a hell of a
friends,
fight
but
for that.
it'll be down the road. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, that interesting stuff. Interesting stuff. I mean, I want to see him in every couple of months fighting somebody.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, that's what he needs, isn't it? You know, there's no point in us raving about him being this, wonder kid and all that. If he's going to fight once a year, well, you're not taking advantage of that youth. Really, get like if you're his family member, you'd be wanting to say, look, you want to be retired by the time you're 27, 28.
Yeah, we don't
Make
want
a
to be
shitload of money and get out.
we don't want to be talking about Moses in the way that we are now talking about, Josh Taylor, right? We were talking about Josh Taylor, and we could have been talking about, Lee Wood, right? People who are
Mike
now at the
Tyson. Tyson was done by 24.
oh
He
yeah,
weren't the same fighter. Do you know what I
yeah,
mean?
no,
So
absolutely.
I think that was because he left Kevin Rooney, though, personally. But you know,
Yeah, I mean, again, living the life outside of the ring, maturing early, and people do mature at different ages, right? Like, look at Lennox Lewis. Lennox Lewis matured older.
yeah,
Y-
certainly did.
Like Riddick Bowe and Lennox Lewis are the same age, but those guys did not mature at the same time.
No,
I mean, Riddick Bowe had matured much earlier than Lennox.
yeah. I think the one advantage that Itama has got is that he didn't actually start boxing until he was about 15, and I think he's like people have always talked about him like on this sort of elitist sort of level, as an amateur. I mean, youth level anyway.
Yeah,
So yeah, he's. I don't think he had that many amateur fights. So up there will be a lot. He'll have a cleaner slate in the skull, if you know what I mean. His brain won't have been knocked about as much. But again, you tend to find with young fighters, their stars burn very, very bright and very, very quickly, and then gone
that's
like
it.
that.
That's it. Yeah, no, absolutely.
You know,
Just gaming it out, sort of fantasy fight kind of stuff. Um, let's say the worst case scenario for me is Dubois beats Usyk. Um, how quickly do you think that they would try and rush Tyson Fury in with Dubois or Moses ITAUMA in with Dubois? Like how, given that Frank Warren controls them all, how quickly do you think that Dubois would be sacrificed to a more famous name?
Um, quite quickly, because Frank does play favourites a little bit. And Dubois was his favourite, wasn't he? Because Dubois was, when Dubois turned professional, he was talked about in sort of glowing terms. He's this great amateur. He's the anti Joshua, if you will. You know, Joshua, Matchroom Joshua. Dubois was, oh,
Yeah,
he's always been free, hasn't he? Do you know what I mean? He was there
yeah.
heavyweight here. And then Frank seems to play favourites. You know, he didn't really like Joe, it didn't appear to favour Joe Joyce at all. And then when Joe Joyce won, it was like, oh, well, we've been forced to do something with him now. I think with a Talma coming along and that star burning bright, he'd be quite happy. And like I say,
Or
I'm
or
sure if you
or Fury. Although I don't think Fury would step into the ring with Dubois.
know well, I don't think I don't think he would either. He only wants, he's only interested in fighting for money, I believe. And the Anthony Joshua fight is the only one really left for him, even though I have no interest in that fight whatsoever. I
I, I,
do.
I think he might be interested in the Usyk trilogy, um, but I don't want to see it. I absolutely don't want to see it. Don't, you know?
But do you think, Bob, like, let's be honest here, you know, we know Tyson Fury's a gaslighter. We know he's full of crap, basically. But do you really think he goes to sleep at night thinking he won both those fights?
I think he's got a real, we'll call it a mental challenge, right? I think there are when he says something, he might truly, honestly believe what he's saying. But the problem is, he's got some sort of personality problems. That means that half an hour later, he can say something that's totally different to what he just said, and he can
Yeah,
believe that equally strongly.
yeah, maybe so.
And I
Um,
think he's also, people can get inside his head, right?
mhm.
So, you know, his dad might be trying to get him to make another run for things. Nobody wants to see the goose that's laying the golden eggs stop laying the eggs. If the goose might be happy, the goose might say, "Hey, I've got enough eggs." But then there's all these people who were previously employed who are now saying, "Hey, boss, you know you can beat that guy. Hey,
Yep, you,
boss, take
yeah,
one more run at it."
you spoke about it before, Joe Lewis.
Yeah,
You know, we met Sugar Ray Robinson, Muhammad Ali. These people, they carried on as long as they did because, well, it was Sugar Ray Robinson that invented the entourage,
yeah,
didn't
yeah,
he?
absolutely. And you know,
Masseuse,
he had it.
everything. Yeah.
He had his last fight in 1965. Like
Yep.
that's ridiculous, right? A guy
He
who
was
won
born.
his first. He won his first welterweight championship in 1946. I mean, like
Mm-hmm.
why is he still in a boxing ring in 1965? Other than
I
as
know.
you know, an eminence grease and a nice suit, right? Yeah, yeah. I mean, people shouldn't be allowed. I was gonna say people, but people always do carry on, right?
Because it's in their vested interest, isn't it?
Yeah, it's in their interest or it's the interest of their handlers. I think some people like Tyson, it might be that he so craves being that center of attention, right? Like
Oh yeah,
he
he
can't
definitely
imagine there
does.
being a big fight at Wembley and nobody is talking about him.
Yeah, well, he does it all the time, doesn't he? Every time he makes an announcement, it's on the day that an announcement has been made by another fighter. He's very self-centered. And to be a boxer, I think you have to be a little bit. But I mean, he takes it to another level. You know, I think he's a prat. I don't really want to see him in a ring again.
Yeah,
I think
we've certainly not missed him, have we?
no, well, we've not. I think there's a lot of middle-aged men out there that will do, and the reason why I say middle-aged men is because when in my previous podcast in life, when I called him an expletive and it went sort of semi-viral on Facebook. a lot of middle-aged men were nearly crying and calling me names because of Tyson Fury. You know,
Well,
how
I think
you say this? What have you achieved? You're just jealous. Bloody right, I'm jealous. Yeah,
you know
right.
you
Damn
can.
right.
I think you can be supportive of a fighter or a team or whatever, but that whole fanboyism that just gets carried away, right?
It's
Um,
incredibly. Oh, yeah.
there's a fight we haven't talked about, and we really should. It was actually a
Go
pretty
on.
good fight last night. Nathaniel Collins and Lee McGregor. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did. I did. He was
Yeah, I mean,
phenomenal.
I actually
Um,
but I had a little bit of money on Nathaniel Collins. That's certainly his career best. Was it fourth round stoppage?
yeah,
Um, I thought that was going to go the distance. I
yeah,
was
I did.
surprised that it was a stoppage. In fact, I'm not surprised that Nathaniel Collins won, but I was pretty surprised, especially early door stoppage.
Yeah, Lee McGregor's he's a good fighter, isn't he? Do you know what I mean? He beat another sort of favourite years ago, Cash Farouk, who was known to thought to go on to massive things. Obviously, had to retire due to medical issues. And Lee McGregor, he's given good value really on the domestic scene.
Yeah,
Collins, Collins looked great. He looked sharp. He just, yeah, he just beat him up, didn't he? And McGregor was trying, but I just think the firepower was far too much. Very, very impressive. I've not seen much of Collins, to be honest, but I'm definitely going to be opening my eyes to him in the future.
yeah. What I thought when I was watching it is something that we were talking about. I think it was last Sunday. Like you don't have to have a marquee name to put on a really good, interesting fight. Like it was
Well,
like,
no, look,
oh, that's a really that was a really cool, enjoyable fight. In fact, perfectly honest, the card was a good card.
and you say it there, marquee names. We had marquee names galore a couple of weekends ago, and it
Yeah,
fell flat as a pancake. So,
yeah. No,
this is
I mean this is a mixture of marquee names. I mean, Josh Taylor used to be a marquee name. Maybe he still is. Whatever. Moses, up and comer. But this was a good card.
yeah,
And
I enjoy.
yeah, no, it was worthwhile.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess it's the next big fight. The next big fight is that
June,
Wardley? Is Wardley the next
yeah,
big one?
I'll be Wardley Justice Hooney, yeah.
Yeah, with Dillian White on the undercard, eh?
Dillian Shite, yeah, I'm not a big
Yeah,
fan.
the master on the Apprentice's undercard.
Yeah,
So
the English Jarrell Miller
that yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that's about it, right?
shouldn't
Um,
be any ring, but
and I forget which date, but sometime coming up soon, Deontay Wilder's going to fight again, which I don't know what interest there is in him coming back. If he comes back and he's spectacular against this guy that I don't remember the name of,
well,
maybe
yeah, it doesn't mean anything.
yeah, um, yeah, I don't know. I read somewhere that they're talking if AJ can't fight Fury, they're going to see if AJ will fight Wilder.
Hmm. Well,
Uh,
well, they will because they're trying to ring the last few drops out of the
yeah,
funnel, aren't they?
I mean,
So,
I, I'm just not interested in that.
no,
I
but I
mean,
mean, yeah,
AJ and Wilder. I mean, like,
I'm less interested. I mean, I'm not even interested in Fury and AJ.
no,
I just think
I'm quite a bit more interested in Fury and AJ. Not super interested, but a bit more. I'd like
it's
to
a
see
bit
it
more
happen just
thorough.
to put a period at the end of the sentence, right? But
Yeah,
AJ and Wilder, I mean, that was not, yeah, that's not on my bingo card.
no, certainly not. And as for saying, is he going to look spectacular? I don't think he is. People have worked him out now. And the way to beat Wilder is, lean all over him, close the
Yeah,
range so he can't detonate.
And
And he looks haunted, doesn't he, since his fight with his trilogy with Tyson Fury.
yeah, I
So
mean, the worst thing he ever did was taking on Malik Scott as his trainer, right? Because
yeah,
Malik Scott has turned him into Malik Scott. It's like, anyways,
absolute top contender that he was. Yeah,
yeah. All right, well, we should probably wrap this up. So, thanks again, Muddy, for coming on. Always
well,
great to catch up with you.
yeah, I
Um,
look forward to it.
Thanks everybody for watching. Please hit like, share, subscribe, and subscribe to Andy at Andy's Cavern and Porky's Corner as well, please. And thank you very much for watching. We'll see you on the next one.
Take care, everyone. Bye bye.
Cheers, Jamie. Thanks, buddy.